The Three Great Deceptions of Lucifer. A story of mankind's fall and struggle. From the dawn of time, there has been one who prowls in the shadows, whispering falsehoods into the hearts of men. His name was once Lucifer, the bearer of light, but through pride and rebellion, he became Satan, the adversary. His mission: to turn the hearts of God's creation away from truth, to shroud the world in deception, and to lead mankind into ruin. 3 times he wove his greatest lies, and 3 times he led the world astray. But always, God provided a way back to the light. The first deception: the garden of eternal loss. The world was young, untouched by the weight of sin. The trees bore fruit in abundance, the rivers flowed with crystalline purity, and the breath of God's presence filled the air. In the midst of this paradise, Adam and Eve walked, unburdened by fear, their souls reflecting the image of their Creator. The serpent, cunning beyond all the beasts, slithered into the sanctuary of Eden, his words honeyed with deceit. He did not strike with force, but with a question, a whisper of doubt. Did God really say? With that single seed, he planted distrust in the heart of Eve. The tree of knowledge stood before her, its fruit gleaming with an unnatural allure. The lie was simple, but devastating. You shall be like God, knowing good and evil. The promise of divinity, the lure of autonomy, the hunger for wisdom beyond their stationate was too much. Eve ate. Adam followed. The moment the fruit touched their lips, the world shifted. Innocence withered. Where once they were clothed in light, they now felt naked, exposed, and ashamed. They had been deceived into believing that disobedience would elevate them, yet it had only cast them down. The ground itself groaned under the weight of their choice, and the first deception was complete. Expelled from Eden, mankind would forever toil in the dust. But even then, God's mercy shone. A promise was made: a Redeemer would come, one who would crush the serpent's head, even as his own heel would be bruised. The war had begun, and Lucifer would not relent. The second deception: the tower that reached for heaven. Generations passed, and the children of Adam multiplied across the earth. They built cities, raised families, and labored under the curse of their forefathers' fall. But in their hearts remained the echo of Lucifer's first deception, the yearning to be as gods, to defy the boundaries set by the Creator. On the plains of Shinar, the people gathered with one purpose: to build a tower that would reach the heavens. It was more than bricks and mortar. It was a symbol of man's defiance, of his belief that he could ascend by his own might. We will make a name for ourselves, they said. And in those words, the whispers of the serpent could be heard once more. Lucifer's deception was not in destruction, but in ambition. He did not tell them to hate God. He convinced them they did not need him. They labored with prideful hands, their confidence in their own strength growing with each rising stone. The tower became a monument to self-sufficiency, a temple of human achievement. If they could reach heaven by their own efforts, then what need was there for the divine? But God saw. He descended not in wrath but in mercy, scattering their tongues, dividing their nations, humbling their pride. The tower, once rising as a testament to their greatness, crumbled into confusion. Mankind was reminded of a truth they had long forgotten. Salvation cannot be built by human hands, nor can heaven be reached by the will of men. The third deception: the desert of false promises. The world groaned under the weight of its corruption, and in the fullness of time, the Word became flesh. Jesus, the Son of God, walked among men, bearing their burdens, healing their wounds, and proclaiming the kingdom of heaven. Yet, before his ministry began, he was led into the wilderness, where the adversary awaited. Lucifer had deceived the first man in a garden of abundance. Now he sought to deceive the second Adam in a desert of desolation. For 40 days, Jesus fasted, his body weakened, but his spirit resolute. The devil came, not with force, but with subtlety. If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become bread. The hunger of the flesh, the weakness of the body. Surely he, with all his power, could satisfy himself. But Jesus would not be swayed. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Lucifer's second temptation was one of spectacle. He led Jesus to the pinnacle of the temple, urging him to cast himself down. The angels will bear you up, he said, a public display of divine power, a shortcut to recognition wise suffer when he could prove himself in a single act. But Jesus refused. You shall not test the Lord your God. Then came the final temptation. The kingdoms of the world, their glory laid at his feet. All these I will give you if you bow and worship me. It was the oldest deception, the promise of power at the cost of allegiance. He had lured Eve with the promise of godhood, Babel with the dream of dominion, and now he offered the Son of God an easy path to kingship without the cross. But Jesus, the light of the world, did not falter. Away with you, Satan, for it is written, You shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve. The enemy had failed. Where Adam had fallen, Christ had stood firm. Where Babel had sought self-exaltation, Jesus chose humility. The third deception was shattered, and though the serpent would strike again, his defeat was sealed. The cross would come, but so too would the resurrection. The eternal struggle and the victory of the redeemed. Lucifer's deceptions did not end in the wilderness. Throughout history, he has whispered his lies into the hearts of men, convincing them they can be like gods, that they can build their own paths to salvation, that power and glory are worth the price of compromise. Yet always, God provides a way back. The first Adam fell, but the second Adam restored. The tower crumbled, but the church was built. The cross stood as a sign of death, but the empty tomb declared victory. The war rages still, but the end has already been written. One day, the deceiver will be cast into the lake of fire, and the redeemed will walk in a new Eden, a paradise that cannot be lost. And there, in the presence of the one who overcame every deception, mankind will no longer hunger for false promises, for they shall see God, as he eyesigned, be satisfied forever.